Live button is on, Jeremiah. It's Monday, 3:30 Mountain Time. Here we are for our weekly employee wellness live stream. Wonderful to see you as always.
Thank you, Rockstar Director. Great to be here, team. We are finishing the year strong. A couple more sessions to go.
Absolutely. We're going to ride this wave to the end of December at this time. We'll probably be continuing on in the new year at the same time. But before we get started, want to remind everyone that we're going to have our medical disclaimer here that anything we talk about in our show today is not personal medical advice. If you're interested and you have questions, I see someone actually even put in a question about blood work. Those questions need to go to the team at ifixhearts.com. And someone will reach out to you very quickly, but that's your place to address any specific medical questions. We're here to talk about addiction in the workplace. That's a really loaded topic, wouldn't you say, Jeremiah?
It is a heavy one as we finish the year strong, you guys. Look, our commitment to you, bringing great value, content, education, and we won't skimp right over the heavy stuff. We're going to dig right in. And there's a couple really key points that I want to bring out today, Krisna. So, yeah, I know you have a lot of experience with this. What have you specifically seen in terms of addiction in the workplace? What's hard right now? What are you seeing?
Great question. So I think we have evolved over the years and let's say broadened our scope of what we're talking about when we talk about addiction. In many years past, and again, I'm kind of old school in this business, have been doing it for decades, that the focus was a lot just on smoking or smoking cessation programs, trying to help people break that smoking habit. That's certainly an issue, and we deal with companies across the country that still is an issue. But when we think about addiction, we want to really open that up. We might have a phone addiction, right? There are people who can't put their phone down or feel that they have to keep checking email every so many minutes. We have a huge topic of many ways, and there are many good experts out there in terms of food addiction, whether that be a processed food addiction, and that's getting a lot of press in the news lately due to the Make America Healthy Again movement, which is great that we're having that conversation. And food addictions can be across the spectrum. You might have a sugar addiction, or I've worked with many clients who had diet soda addictions. And now, again, back to the smoking piece, we've got people who are vaping and trying to quit vaping. We have even something that we've talked about in our programs. There are people who are addicted to exercise, over exercising, really, that have kind of made themselves sick due to exercising too much, believe that or not. So I think what's changed, Jeremiah, back to your question, is that we want to broaden our scope and we want to support everyone, because often what we see is things can transfer. Let's say you were a smoker, you quit smoking. Maybe you transferred that to, then all of a sudden you started a sugar addiction.
From one addiction to the other. Yeah.
Exactly. These things can be transferable, or the habit needs to be fulfilled in some way. So we're trying to help people at any stage of where they are. But of course, this is something they need to want to address.
No, I love that. Strong. So a couple of things there. The rollover or the addiction to addiction piece. What would broader implications? Excuse me. Implications. My goodness, that was struggle for me. The broader implications, right, of the mental lapse. So we talked about mental health the last couple sessions. As these things, addiction bounce around, like what's the implications? Bring these into the workplace, the broader implications. Talk about fatigue, efficiency decrease, morale, culture. Explain a little bit of that.
Yeah. I, the reason we like sort of helping and, sort of working with these, especially in a group setting. So it's where the group can support each other. But the implications that you're talking about can be anywhere, whether it's a food addiction, smoking, a texting addiction, or gambling. You name it. We can see a loss of productivity. We can see a loss of mental focus. We can see a kind of something very similar to what we talk about in metabolic health. This volatility, right? You're high, you're low, and this can impact, just your performance, right? Your performance at work, but also performance at home. You might then have some relationship issues, whether that's your colleagues at work, or often, people in this space might lash out more at those they love just because they're right there. That's an immediate reaction. So those are some of just the basic ones. But if we flip that to the positive side, in fact, last week we were running a group session for one of our employer clients. And we had in the room people from all different kinds of aspects. And we're calling it How to Quit. How to, and there to help whatever it is you're hoping to maybe do less of. And that's where we are right now. Finishing the year is do less of it. Maybe as we move to January, we're going to actually start the gears on quitting, but we're moving there.
Nice.
The smoker can help someone who's trying to drink less alcohol, who can also help someone who's trying to quit snacking late at night. And it was so wonderful to see them offering tips and support to each other on how they're able to, be successful sometimes and be less successful in other times.
I think it makes sense as a leader, leaders listening to this and, organizational drivers, like to help battle this before it becomes something that's spilling into the workplace and certainly spilling into the home life. I don't think we have a tremendous responsibility, leaders and again, organization, but it makes so much sense to adopt things like an EW program, an employee wellness program that's going to focus on addiction as well as metabolic health, the real grounding the roots of this challenge that we're faced right now in America. But no, I really, and globally for that, with that said, but I really like that, Krisna. Let's eat it before it gets into the workplace and affects it.
Absolutely. Let me just add here, when it comes to addiction, there's always been a huge stigma around it. That people feel often a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, are embarrassed. They would like to quit maybe something, but feel incapable. But often, and this comes also a lot from the food addiction work of Bitt and Janssen, talking about, oftentimes people say, well, I'm a bad person because I do this. No, you're not. But there might be other things going on that are just pulling you in that direction. In food, we talk about your brain has been hijacked by the food, but your brain could be hijacked by the kick of the nicotine or something else. And I think the first line in terms of all employee wellness efforts is to say, we're here to support you. This is not about a judgment on personality or that you have some faults because you've developed this habit. No, this is where can we go forward? That comes back to the whole idea of performance mindset. Where are we going? Not beating ourselves up about the past, but how are we moving the train forward?
Awesome. That's exactly what this is. Again, like, let's be proactive with this awareness, right? That there could be addiction in the workplace, and there probably is, and it's
Yeah.
ranging, right?
And
Chris,
I love
go
what
ahead.
you said, Jeremiah, though, because we may not in a worksite wellness or workplace employee wellness program be able to sort of help everyone quit whatever it is they're trying to quit. However, can be a great support tool. We can help them feel that they are listened to and heard and supported, and gain other support colleagues within the workplace. That's really phenomenal from a
Huge.
workplace wise, to have, a support team for you there. You know, in many situations, let's say years ago, people would, if there was anything semi-related, not just to addiction, but anything shoved into the category of mental health, they would, sort of say, well, here's the link, go see our EPA program, right? Our employee assistant, EAP program, sorry, employee assistance program. And they've done phenomenal work, don't get me wrong, but it's also a nice new, if we think forward thinking idea, to say, well, what can we do support out in the open, transparency in the workplace? Additionally, there might be people that do need that private, support from an EAP program, but we're seeing, hey, we're here for you. We want to support you. And that is a huge boon, I think, in and of itself.
Nice. So we've looked at the implications here. My goodness, it's hard for journalists.
Say that word.
Broadcast journalists. Oh, goodness. So we looked at those, and then what would maybe be the hidden costs of this in the underlying? And I'm going to go right to insurance premiums and the way that it's going to dent that. But like, how is this affecting the organization when we don't address this? When we don't look at it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that that's always hard to come up with a hard number, right? Now, there can be many scenarios, whether your premiums are attached. Do people have to, state whether they're smokers or non-smokers in terms of certain insurance premiums? We do know that there are, particularly within the food addiction realm, certain ramifications on your metabolic health. Can you put an exact dollar number on those? I that would be beyond my pay scale in terms of that. But we do see when groups as a whole improve their metabolic health markers, we do see a reduction in their healthcare costs. Thus, again, that would depend on the type of model your company uses. Are you self-insured? Are you working with insurance? But I do know that also many employee situations, they're pulled together with other companies and if they can demonstrate that they are assisting, whether it be in the addiction realm or in the metabolic health sector, and that they are really assisting, they might be looked on more favorably when it comes to their assessment in the year. And then we have to look always at the leadership piece. We talk about walking the walk and wanting to help people get healthy. This is a real clear sign we're there to help you. It's not just something we have on paper.
We've talked that way from day one here, haven't we, Krisna? I love that. You walk the walk, my friend. Your own dog food. But okay, so I get it. The hidden costs obviously are going to affect the premiums and the underlying. But I think there's something here that we've also drawn a correlation to, Krisna. When those markers are up, when we're omnipresent there, when we're focused on the metabolic, we're seeing that increase in efficiency and
yes,
through the roof. And that productivity is massive, you guys. And I know we can put dollar signs on that. So think about that, leaders and organizational drivers, as you think employee wellness for next year. And with that said, let's throw out Chris, our amazing teammate behind the scenes. Let's get the white papers out. We've got some great work from Krisna here just recently. So I encourage you all to dig into our material. Krisna's work's been solid in the white paper arena. Another one coming right behind our third one. Krisna, what do you have on that?
So absolutely. So our first white paper that we released a couple months ago was on sedentary behavior and understanding that too little exercise is not the same as sitting too much. We really draw the distinction in structured exercise and getting daily movement. That was our first white paper. Our second white paper was on mindset, and that mindset matters in our health endeavors, not just in our athletes or in our business execs, but mindset is crucial. This third one is really on addiction in the workplace. So this topic we're spending time talking about today. So those are the three that are already out. They're available, free download. And Chris has got the website up here. They're all available. Our fourth one in the pipeline is just what you just mentioned, Jeremiah, is walk the walk.
Yeah.
If you want your employees to be healthy, you have to not just be implementing the program, but participating in the program. And research proves that. It's not just us wanting to talk about that on Monday afternoons.
Research does prove that, and our work proves that too. Our work in the employee wellness space and what we're seeing with our clients. Krisna, well done. Spot on.
Yeah.
Let's go into the latter part of our session today, and let's switch to what can our leaders and our employers be doing to foster this environment in the workplace that's combating addiction, that's combating, metabolic health. Again, I'm very biased, obviously, guys, but like we need metabolic focused programs in the workplace. How can we get started here? Again, focusing on addiction, Krisna. You said it earlier. It's shunned. It's not talked about. It's pushed around and into the corner.
And often people feel isolated. So that individual alone with what they're struggling with. So I think the first step is really sort of inquiring. And if you ask, often people will be very willing and very honest to share, and feeling that they're listened to. I've said that before, but in our experience, and in many in the addiction space, coming from all kinds, whether it's the food, the smoking, we see a lot of good results with group efforts. Again, that idea of a group, a focus group, meeting regularly. We're doing some of our work in that space live on site, and then we've continued it on virtually when we're not there. And again, I can't say enough for group support, because when you've got a colleague who can understand, even if they're trying to quit something different, that support is priceless. And it was wonderful this last week to hear their ideas. Well, what if you take 2 packs out of your cigarette, put them in a jar, and, then it's 3 out of them, how to show the winnings of how many that they're quitting with. Just these clever ideas on that to help each other.
That is clever. Group
work, we know, and making it regular. Let's face it. AA has been around for how long with the 12-step program? What are one of the hallmarks, and what do people always talk about? What has worked for them? It's the group weekly meetings, right? Meetings. It's that human-to-human interaction, and so there is place for that if that's something you want to. Obviously, every company is going to have to decide what pieces of the employee wellness program are specific to them.
Yep.
If you can start with the metabolic health focus, as a foundation, and start building health that way, then you can start to sort of add on some of these other pieces, especially if they're particular to your workplace, right?
I like that, Krisna. That's kind of what we did with one of our clients, is we really just added that addiction piece in and started working on that with and for them. And again, they're seeing instant results. And none of this is a magic wand or a silver bullet, you guys. It's the real work. It's the people work. And when you're an employer, a leader, like, your people are your top asset. So, Krisna, this was an excellent session. Let's open it up to some questions, some thoughts, just some comments, even feedback. We love that, team.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Krisna.
No, I just see that Chris put up here where to contact you to book a call.
Yeah,
right?
I was just going to drop that. Let's dig in. We've had some great calls with you guys teammates again from this live stream. And the reason that we're doing this is to bring value, to bring education, to show our passion and vigor around this subject and the gap in the workplace, so we can address that. Team I Fix Hearts is bent on changing the way that we look at health and metabolic health specifically. So book in. We definitely want to speak with you, go over strategy, answer all your questions, discuss our programs and what we're doing that's special. And with that said, Krisna, happy holidays. Holiday season.
Yeah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. And I will say, even if you're not in a leadership position or you're an employee that works for a company, post a question about what are we doing in employee wellness. It's not that you have to start day one with a full comprehensive program. There might just be a program or a piece of it, or one of your groups, the sales team, a marketing team, a leadership team, or any piece of the puzzle. Because if your employer understands that health is important to you, they might just start making it more of a priority. And I think it's always good to ask the question, what are we doing? And not just on paper, but what are we doing in action steps?
That's a solid call out, Krisna. Because we speak to the leader and the organizational drivers, but also the frontline employees, the impact makers, right? The change, the change drivers. So you guys are vital. Like your words, your energy is going to propel that change in your organization.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I will, just as I started out, well, I'll remind, we had one question about someone was wanting to know a list of blood work recommended compared to Western medical advice. That is definitely a question for our team at ifixedhearts.com. I would also point you to the Ovadia Heart Health website. And there is a free metabolic quiz that you can take, and you might just see there's some courses that you could, I believe we have a lab work course on that, but check out the website and do check out our white papers. Come with questions. We love the questions.
Yes.
And I'm super excited about next week. I will say our guest is going to be the illustrious Dr. Jan Monnier from Stanford University, formerly. He's a global medical doctor with a lot of research, a lot of work globally. He was also a lead individual at the Stanford University Health Promotion Network, which was a consortium of employee wellness programs in the Silicon Valley. Just a wealth of information. Excited to have him as our guest next week.
So that'll be our Christmas present to you, team, for sticking with us as we finish the year strong. Hope you're feeling the festive energy. Happy holidays. Chris, a great session. Thank you for bringing it. As always.
Thank you.
Team, see you next week.
Merry Christmas, everyone.